The team's been on Reddit a lot lately. I guess I've been on Reddit a lot. I'm going to clarify a couple things, and we threw in some questions on Reddit. The thread, obviously, it blew up. We had to shut that down, and I picked a few questions to answer. Some of the questions you asked, I can't answer. Too personal, or it would just be taken down, demonetized off YouTube, and obviously that's the priority we have here. But the first thing that needs to be clarified is when Liam Krellenstein had his leg broken in the gym. So just to reiterate, we do super fights in the gym. A lot of gyms do super fights. They might do it as sometimes even a first point sort of battle. They might even change the rule set. The reason you do super fights is because it allows you to get practice competing under a high pressure environment. I would even do them back when I trained at Absolute with Lachlan Giles. Did them at Atos when I would do training camps at Atos back when I was training at the GI. So again, you take a couple people from the room, people that want to do it, and you get them to have a match in front of the team, and it replicates the environment of competition. And again, it doesn't really matter. The only difference we do is we put it on YouTube because it is entertaining, and it adds another layer to the super fight, adds another realism layer. There's more at stake here. Again, 99 times out of 100, nothing bad happens. Just like when you compete, you don't get injured a great deal when you're competing. So the context of the Liam video was that, yeah, Liam did come in and he did say that he could beat any girl, obviously joking around. So I was like, well, Nora's here, Nora's pretty good, let's have him go at it. And honestly, I thought it would be very competitive, and I think if they were to roll again, it would be pretty competitive. Liam's pretty damn good as well. He's just not a seasoned competitor like Nora is. So what happened in the video was, and what happened that was accurate, Nora attempted a Z-lock, and before she could even really consolidate the position, Liam gave sort of an incorrect response of straightening his leg, which meant that the submission came on much sooner. Nora definitely didn't rip the submission. Liam definitely didn't wait too long to tap. Just a freak accident. Could have happened if they were rolling together. If at any point you're not quite sure if you're in danger, that's a great situation that will cause injury. Even me, if someone put me in a Z-lock, I haven't been put in a ton of Z-locks, so I might make the wrong response, I might injure myself, or I might just not even recognize danger. And especially sometimes with ligaments, you don't feel any pain first, things just go pop. So again, freak accident, could have happened when they were rolling. What we did was he tore his ACL, we got him an MRI in Austin, we got him back to Canada to see his surgeon. Obviously, healthcare is free in Canada, but you put on a wait list. We paid him the money to bump it up. So Liam is having surgery on March 22nd. And what we did with the video was we thought, hey, let's see how much ad revenue we could potentially make out of this thing to give to Liam. In our minds, we were like, obviously something bad happened. He gets the money to have surgery, but again, he's still injured. And he didn't mind us making it into a video like this. In fact, his interviews were completely scripted pre and post. Nora's interview, completely scripted. Our interviews, we're just trying to make it just something ridiculous. Like, we thought it was so silly that people wouldn't really believe that's what happened. Because again, the video paints me in a terrible picture. Obviously, I'm not gonna be like, if that's the reality of the situation, be like, oh yeah, let's do it. Let's all blame somebody. I told the guys, I was like, guys, I'm gonna blame Ethan. I'm gonna blame Nora, and I said to the other guys, you guys should blame me. We thought that would be funny because again, it's just a freak accident that happened in the gym. Nora felt terrible about it. Afterwards, she was crying for like 30 minutes. They were tears of joy, but she was still crying. She was still obviously, she was very upset about it afterwards. Even Nora was trying to pay for his MRI, pay for his surgery, all of these things. Liam, we obviously said in the draft video, he thought it was funny. He thought it was funny. I mean, he even came back in, injured, re-dressed up in his gear to film those pre and post match interviews. So the pre-match interview was done long after the injury. The post-match interview also done the same day there. So again, sometimes when you're shooting for some funny content, it's based around obviously a real event. Sometimes we take it too far. We didn't realize that people would believe it. We didn't realize we were such good actors in that environment that people would really believe it. So again, if Liam ain't angry with us, I don't think any of you guys should be. But yeah, it definitely felt like we needed to clarify a few things, because I get messages every day. What about Liam? What about the poor kid that got his leg broken? He's having surgery March 22nd. Yeah, obviously ACL, long road to recovery. But his brother, Ethan, had that recently. His brother's back, had ACL surgery pre-ADCC, came back, looked great at ADCC, looked great against Fabricio Andre. So yeah, especially at his age, you're gonna bounce back from that much better than if you're a bit older. Reddit has been blowing up lately. Obviously, there's a lot of mystery, a lot of intrigue. Isaac leaving the team, Nick Ortiz leaving the team. Sometimes when people leave a team, nothing really has to be wrong. You see it in high-level teams around the world all the time. People make moves. Even recently, you see guys like Diego Patel moving from Unity to the Mendes brothers. Doesn't mean anything's wrong. Maybe they wanted to move city. Maybe they wanted to try training with different training partners. Again, even in MMA camps, you'll see successful athletes switch teams. These things happen. People change over time. The gyms change over time, and maybe you don't feel like a good fit. A lot of times, people want to read into a situation that it's something much bigger than it appears to be. They want to think there's some serious bad blood. People hate each other. They want to see these things in it. So again, 2 massive Reddit posts about the Nick Ortiz stuff. Nick Ortiz, like he admitted, there was a moment in the gym between him and Nicky Rod. Sometimes you might perceive something as a massive disrespect. Sometimes even something that is meant to be a little bit of disrespect, you can take and blow that out of proportion. So again, in situations like this, we don't need to find out really who's at fault. Nick Ortiz has gone and he's left the team and he's pursuing his own coaching career. That's fine. Encourage him to do that. There doesn't have to be bad blood about situations like that. Again, I know you guys want more details. You want to pry it out of me. You want to pry it out of Nick Ortiz. You want to pry it out of other members. I promise you, if something super crazy happens, you'd already hear about it. Members would leave, members would make posts, members would talk to you about it. Again, sometimes you'll see on these Reddit threads, you'll see someone be like, oh, I used to train here, and they'll say all this shit about a team. Again, it's the internet. It could be a member, it might not be a member, but again, I think if something serious really happened here at B Team, there wouldn't be a B Team anymore. You guys would hear about it. Things would be shut down. It's hard to keep secrets on both ends. Everything always comes out. Eventually, give it enough time, everything always comes out. But yeah, I just want to leave it at that. I want to say, yeah, athletes switch teams all the time. Coaches quit, move to other teams all the time. Coaches could be fired, move to other teams. It doesn't need to be a big deal. I feel like I don't really need to say anything else on it. Nick Ortiz doesn't really need to say anything else on it. From my perspective, B Team's great. But of course, one challenge you'll find in gyms is through your position of power as a coach. People might be intimidated to come up and approach you, and little things that aren't discussed in the moment can start to build up over the time and manifest in a moment where something minor becomes a massive deal. So of course, that's one of the challenges of being a coach. That's something that is really hard to address. You want to try to be as approachable as possible so people do feel entitled to come up and talk to you about anything that's going on. But of course, you don't want to be so approachable that they're approaching you about just regular bullshit around the gym. You want to find the right balance. But yeah, I mean, nothing else really needs to be said on that. I hope you guys can leave me and Nick Ortiz alone about this situation. One of the questions on Reddit is like, why am I on Reddit? Why do I put up with listening to all the crazy Redditors? Why do I interact with the community? Well, I've been on Reddit for over 10 years now. I think I've been maybe even posting on the BJJ subreddit for a very long time. When I was coming up, I found it a great way to try to get exposure, maybe post a highlight reel, maybe just generally interacting with that community. And I felt like I was on there before I was a big name in the community, I'll try to stay on there afterwards. And again, people are saying, oh, why do you try to talk to them, especially when they're saying something negative about you or the business? I mean, I come at it from a standpoint where, like, I mean, if there's what I perceive to be misinformation about my team or individuals in my team, yeah, I want to correct the narrative. I want to give it my perspective. I mean, especially, like, say if it's something about Nicky Ryan, Nicky Rod, people are saying things that aren't true. Yeah, I do want to throw in a perspective, and I want to try and do it in as unemotional way as possible, because I think if you are posting on the internet in an emotional way, you're just going to look like an idiot. People are going to eat you alive. It's kind of like banter with your friends. You start to, if someone says something in a joking way, you take it very serious. That's just blood in the water, and that's true on the internet too. It's blood in the water. You can't really read too much into it. Again, people on anonymous accounts, people saying, wild shit, just to provoke you, just trolling, you know? So, I mean, to the best of my ability, I'll try to correct the narrative out there. And again, that's one of the reasons I did this video, because of the Liam leg break, because of all the intrigue about Nick and Isaac leaving the team. Yeah, so, I mean, for me, I think it's beneficial, especially Reddit is a great representative of the community. I think if you do read Reddit BJJ, I know a lot of people criticize it and they say, oh, it's super liberal, super sensitive or whatever. I think it does have their finger on the pulse for what sort of the jiu-jitsu community is feeling. And again, I release instructional products. I want to interact with people buying those products that have questions about it, especially if people throw up reviews. I do want to interact with those people. Obviously, I care about the content I produce, and it is obviously beneficial for my business and my brands to take the information you put forth about me and my products and try to improve them, try to do them better. Let's get into the more fun stuff now. Let's go into the more fun questions. Obviously, some of that shit was pretty serious, so let's try and lighten the mood a bit. When is the podcast coming? Who asked this? I'll try to pronounce your Reddit accounts. I won't try to pronounce them because I have no idea what that says. But when is the podcast coming? As soon as possible. We're trying to build a studio now. We want to hit the ground running, so I don't want to bring podcast episodes out infrequently. We want to hit the ground running on this. The podcast name I chose was How I Stole Your... No, that's not the one we're going to do. We're going to do El Segundo, which obviously Spanish translation is the second place. So we'll keep the same energy for this podcast, and obviously honoring my Mexican heritage as well. So what's the plan with the podcast? We're going to have them out pretty regularly. We're going to have my sort of co-host will be Freddie from BJJ World TV. We're going to be bringing in guests all the time. If you guys want to throw some guest suggestions below, but obviously BJJ, MMA, really anyone that's interesting as well. So interesting people, so obviously no one from the B team will be making guest appearances on the show. We are looking for sponsors for this podcast. I don't care what brands you represent. I don't care if you just want to pay me to say something to insult your friends on the podcast. For the right price, I will do anything. And one thing we're going to feature on each episode, we're going to shout out a random OnlyFans account that Freddie has been deeply researching lately. And don't be surprised if every week that account is Gabi Garcia's OnlyFans account. All right, I'm going to pronounce this Reddit account KC's. KC's, you're an asshole. He's asked me, when am I going to finally give up and join the group of bald, bearded guys? First and foremost, I say this every time people bring up my hairline. I will hold on to this longer than John Danaher held on to his. I'm going to ride this to the very end. But seriously, I did get, I remember recently I was going out to drink some beers with the boys, and a hair transplant, hair transplant, this guy's in Istanbul, reached out to me about taking hair transplants, doing sponsorship videos on it. So obviously really hurt the ego right before heading out on the beers with the boys. But yeah, I mean, that time's running out. Obviously that will be happening soon. Or if I miraculously disappear for a while, come back with a beautiful hairline, I want you to know that that was achieved through nothing but hard work and dedication. Is B team opening affiliates, and will there be a B team in Sydney? Yeah, I mean, I moved to Texas thinking Texas would be warm 365 days of the year. Obviously that's not true. Obviously we have a couple weeks where it does get pretty cold. My long-term plan would be, I would love to open a B team in Sydney, right by the beach, where I could maybe even live back in Sydney 3 months of the year. I'd love to spend some time of the year each year in Australia. Obviously that's close to Volkanovski, but I also want to stay sort of attached to the jiu-jitsu community in Australia. Obviously I'm Australian, I've lived in the US for a long time, but I do love going back visiting Australia. I was back there for maybe 5 weeks of Volkanovski's camp, and yeah, it was great to be back, great living the Australian lifestyle again, train beach. Obviously Austin has some lakes and stuff like that, but yeah, I don't think, it's hard to beat the beach. I lived in Puerto Rico by the beach. Puerto Rico had a lot of challenges as well. So yeah, I think 3 months a year by the beach would be perfect. But that plan's definitely in the works, but nothing solidified yet. No, we haven't rented any buildings. We haven't made any serious inquiries yet, but that is a future plan. I know a lot of the guys here would love to spend some time in Sydney as well. In terms of other affiliates, we are working on an affiliate program. We don't just want to throw out our brand name and let people become B team. We want to bring something else to the table. So obviously we want to have a serious curriculum. We want coaches to understand expectations, to be a part of the team. And that doesn't just mean that we come to you once a year and do a seminar and charge you a fortune for it. We're going to have something we have to spend X amount of time each year at B team, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, nothing significant, but we want you to really have known what it's like to be at B team before you represent us. Obviously, a lot of schools will just be like, if the price is right, we'll do it. A lot of things in my life, if the price is right, I'll do it. But I do want to protect B team branding so that when you travel to B teams around the world, there are some similarities. All right, Turquoise Falls, this isn't a question so much as you just being an arsehole, but it was a hilarious joke. I'll read it. In the do's and don'ts of training at B team video, you explained that only world-class competitors get to train at B team for free. What's it like being the first gym owner who has to pay to train at their own academy? Incredible. That's an incredible roast. Obviously, a much better roast than any of my own teammates or any of the people in the community that dislike me could ever come up with. That's some fine work right there. I just want to say I appreciate that level of insult. There's a lot of questions on there about when I'm competing, am I retired, things like that. Definitely not retired. If the match is a good match, I'll take it. What you guys need to understand is, obviously 5 years ago, I could take a match. I would just be traveling around, doing seminars, rolling people at seminars, randomly show up to a super fight. I think even going back 5, 6 years, the sport was at a much less professional level. These days, when I want to take a super fight, I want to treat it like an MMA camp. I want to do cardio, strength and conditioning. I want to take my diet seriously. I want to dedicate a proper 8 to 12 weeks to that super fight. I want to give it the attention it deserves. I don't want to show up out of shape. I don't want to show up putting a bad performance. That's going to be very detrimental to my career. The real issue with doing that is I don't just compete for money, but the money has to be right. If I were to dedicate 3 months of my life to competing, yes, I would get some exposure benefits, and yes, it would be good. If I were to win, it would help me market DVDs. But at the end of the day, the purse for a match like that, I lose so much money making the sacrifice to compete. I literally lose so much money because if you think about it, we have, obviously, I want to be at the gym. I want to be helping the students at the gym. If I'm traveling, seminars, I can spend a lot of the time planning and filming instructionals. Obviously, we've got the YouTube content. We want to keep producing great YouTube content for you guys. I've got the podcast coming. I've got a lot of revenue streams that I really have to take a back seat for me to seriously dedicate myself to a super fight. I love competing. If you see me compete, it's not going to be for the money. I want you guys to remember that. It's because I want to compete. I want to test myself. I want to challenge myself. But it does make it difficult to leave all that money on the table to take a super fight against a guy that might not even really want to submit you. They want to come out, they want to dance around. And again, yeah, obviously with the correct strategy, you can force people to engage you. But yeah, it is pretty, it's not a good feeling to dedicate that much time, lose that much money, go out, have a boring match, have an unexciting match. Really, we want two opponents trying to kill each other. That's what I seek through competition. So yeah, if you don't see me as active, these are kind of some of the reasons why. We'll shout out today's sponsor, and that would be Gabi Garcia's OnlyFans. Also, I want you guys to like and subscribe. If you like me, if you want me to keep doing this content, like and subscribe. Obviously, you see some of the stuff I say, I end up having a comment in Reddit threads about it. Eats up a lot of my time, adds a lot of stress to my life. So if you could like and subscribe, that would be appreciated. Again, if you want to sponsor any of these videos, you want to sponsor the podcast, just reach out.